Hey everyone, what's going on? And happy Saturday night. Welcome to another edition of Shoot the Shit Saturday, where tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the Dark Side of the Ring episode featuring Luna Vachon. Let's talk about the, so to speak, ratings war that Tony Khan had basically started with the Friday night buy-in episode. And we'll talk about how Roman Reigns came out and basically uh, said that AEW technically is not a competition. This and much, much more tonight with some great friends that are part of the Round Circle each week here. And I'm happy to bring back at this time. I'll add each guy as I give him a proper ring announcement. Boom. And he's out of his bed. He is sitting up.
Can't hear you, Rumble. What's going on? Rumble, you froze. You froze, Rumble.
Power went out. Power went out. Hold on 1 second. The power went out where I'm at. Hold on 1 second. We're on a generator right now. I apologize to the people out in Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube land. We'll be
What's up, Pelly?
What's up, Mickey Biggs? How are you, brother?
Living the dream, bro.
All right, on, cool, bud. Yeah, I got home to my apartment for last 2 months. I had my folks nursing a broken ankle.
Yeah, I noticed you weren't in bed.
Yeah, I did it. I had a match in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. And I was
nice.
about 5 minutes into the match, and Buddy was finishing his shine, and I had new boots, and they had a gripping into I wasn't used to, and I bumped on my ankle.
Oh, that hurts.
Didn't really hurt. I just, when I tried to get up and restart the match, I couldn't stand up. So
You're lucky you didn't do a Sid Vicious, man.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I got years and years ago, 96, I got a stinger from Bam Bam Bigelow.
Oh, okay.
He dropped me right on my head accidentally.
Huh.
Crushed all the vertebrae in my neck. Not fun.
Yeah. How long have you been in wrestling, Mickey?
Since 1992.
Wow.
Yep.
And you started in Massachusetts?
No, I actually started in Connecticut. I trained under Ox Baker.
I met Ox. I was at a show. I went with Larry Huntley to a show in New Hampshire,
Okay.
and he was on the show. Comical.
Oh, very comical. Very comical.
Yeah.
Yep. And then in I think it was 2001, 2002, 2000, somewhere between 2000 and 2002. Jason had decided to run a memorial show for Tony Rumble,
Yeah.
and the first Tony Rumble Memorial Battle Royal. And
I've been in one of those.
he put me over for it, And that very same night was the introduction to me going into the Brotherhood, the second generation.
Oh, cool. Right on.
So Jason and I go way back.
Yeah, yeah. He took me. I met him in Buxton, Maine, and Skips, and he took me in. And I'm very close ever since.
Yeah,
He
he's a
brought me
good guy.
to Boston for the first time. We wrestled, and that's when I was in. I was in the Rumble, the Tony Memorial Rumble, and the guy who eliminated me was Handsome Johnny, who's now Ivar of the Viking Raiders.
Yep.
Yeah, and no, so I'm about a 5.5 hour drive from where Jason lives now, here in Nova Scotia.
Okay.
So they just opened the border up.
Right.
So
I was actually
we're
just watching the old match of Jason the other day. He was working with Kishi.
Rikishi, yeah, I wasn't on that show, but they had me. The booker had me as an agent, so I'd watch the matches, and they'd come back, and I'd critique them for them.
Nice.
But some of the kids didn't want to listen. Some of them did, but I don't know.
Man, like I said, I posted up. What was that? I think it was the NWA group. I posted up in there. I was like, I love the old territory days. I got so many great memories. I remember running with NWA New England, and the business just isn't what it was years ago.
No, not at all. So when I started, I was running carrying bags and getting guys water and like doing anything I could for them. And I don't think there's a kid today that would do that for some of the veterans. You know what I mean?
And it's sad because, you know who Q-Ball Carmichael is?
Q-Ball, yeah. I was my first EWA show I ever did, and I wrestled Cage, ball guy, and he was on that show. But that was back probably 2004, 2005.
So Q and I are really good friends, and I'm part of his Facebook group, Q's Corner or whatever he calls it, and he gives so much advice on there. And he put something up the other day. He's like, it's an unwritten rule. He goes, but it's a rule that when you go into a locker room, he says, you go and shake hands with everybody, say you hi to all the boys, look for the promoter, let them know you're there, let the booker know you're there, find out who you're working with, get everything situated for your match, go back to the booker and say, hey, this is what we're planning on doing. Is anyone else doing this? He goes, and if they don't know, he goes, volunteer to go talk to the other boys and find out if they're doing something in their match that's similar.
Always,
volunteer to run a locker room meeting if there isn't one, go through all the do's and don'ts. He goes, there's no respect nowadays. I said, no, you're right.
None. Hardly any.
And it's sad because, it is a brotherhood.
Yeah.
And 99% of the time these days, I'll watch a match and I'm just like, I cringe at some of the stuff that happens because know that there's no protection there whatsoever.
Yeah, some of these things like these, I was watching a quick glimpse from the Limitless show there last night, and sometimes I can't watch it because they do all this crazy chain work, this dips and do and stuff. I find it so unnecessary. I'm a more less is more guy, so I'm not into this big super indie stuff, like all this unnecessary stuff when you can do so much less and get over more with this at the same time. I think you understand what I mean, Nick.
Less is more. Less is more. The less you do and tell a story, the more you're going to get over.
Yeah.
I remember, I'm actually going to bring this up to Jason. I don't know if he remembers this. We were in Malden, Mass, I think it was. I think it was Malden, Mass. And he booked me for a hardcore dog collar barbed wire match. And I got I put my I can't remember who I was working with. I think it was a guy that we called Disco Duck. I think it was him, but I can't remember for sure. And I put him in like a modified camel clutch. But I had the barbed wire wrapped around his forehead, pulling him up like that.
Oh wow!
So when I finally let it go, it was actually stuck in his forehead. The referee came and went, boink, pulled it out of his forehead.
Yeah.
And he goes after the match. He's like, what was that all about? I'm like, it worked, didn't it? So the crowd popped for it.
Yeah, right on. Yeah.
And then he booked me for a match one time with one of another one of the main guys there. You probably know him from the New England area, Outpatient, Jeremy.
No.
So the night before, he had accidentally busted somebody open with his baseball bat. I tell him, he's like, I'm going to hit you with the bat. I was like, all right, no problem. Just don't bust me open. He came down, hit the top of my head. I heard the skin split.
Oh, wow.
I had gloves on, and I went like that. I was like, son of a... And my hand was just covered in blood. Then I went like that. Now both hands are covered in blood. Now I'm fuming, like legit fuming. So I'm like, I got to make the best of this. I'm going to sell it. So I start crawling across the ring to the corner where my girlfriend at the time was sitting, because she's never seen me bleed, figuring she's going to freak out. So I'd stop every now and then. I'd pull the blood so it pulls forward, get all the way over there, and I stand up and I flip my head back, and blood just goes everywhere. She's snapping pictures at me. I'm like, not the effect I wanted.
No. Yeah, no. Jason, he's the one that taught me to wrestle on the fly. Pretty much.
Like I said, he's a good guy. And
oh yeah, for sure.
I remember, like he said last week when I was on with you guys, I was his one-man gang. I was his King Kong Bundy. He didn't want anybody to slam me. He didn't want anybody to really knock me down, and like in an easy manner. He wanted them to have to work for it. And I remember he had booked. There was a joint show between NWA New England and NWA Jersey, and he had booked me for the show. Well, at the last minute, I ended up playing Golga. With the mask and everything.
Okay.
And even with that, Jason's like, "Don't bump."
No, not necessary.
He's like, "Don't you do it?" He goes, "I don't care who they put you in the ring with. Don't you do it." Luckily for me, they put me in the ring with the other guy he was talking about, Lando Williams.
Okay.
So he already knew that I wasn't bumping, but we did this one spot. It was freaking awesome because he used to come to the ring with a wrestling gi. Martial arts gi on. So we did this spot where he was on the outside of the ring. Well, I grabbed his belt, his gi belt, but I grabbed it in such a way that the angle looked like I was grabbing him by his nuts. And I picked him up and brought him up and over the ring, and he was selling that I grabbed him by his nuts.
Oh, right.
It was an awesome spot because it worked perfect, because it was like ready, 1, 2, 3, grab and up. So that you couldn't really see, obviously, that I didn't, but it was just when I grabbed, he jumped up like I had him by the nut.
You were big back then. Are you still big size, or I can't really see a?
I was at that time. I was almost 400 pounds, and now I'm down to 253 pounds.
Yeah, I'm around 270, 280.
But I'm also competing for strongman now, so.
Yeah, you were saying that. Yeah.
I got it. Matter of fact, 2 weeks from today, my next competition is. Yeah.
Where are you living today, Mickey?
Connecticut.
Oh, cool. How
Connecticut.
far from Stanford are you?
About 25 minutes, half hour, depending on traffic. Triple H lives like 10 minutes from me.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yep. Yep.
Did you watch much wrestling this week?
I don't watch it much anymore. It's so, like I said, it's so much of a pain. Jason just sent me a message. He's like, we're having a bad rainstorm up here. Evidently, someone ran into a telephone pole and took the transformer out. He has no power.
All right. Well, you want to continue, or do you want to see if he'll come back on later, or
I'll continue if you want to.
doesn't matter? Yeah, I watched a little bit of Raw and a little bit. Yeah, I'll go for another 10, 15 minutes. Is he trying to come back on? Do you know, or?
That's what I just asked him.
Yeah, I watched Raw, a little bit of Raw. And I like the way they're building up for the everything they're doing for this Crown Jewel show.
Right.
They had they generated the heat for Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, and Big E, which I really liked. And then with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, the heat they're generating between Paul Heyman and the two. I think that's very well written. So I got to get a hold of Jason because he gets me a provider from the States to put into my smart TV.
Okay.
So I have to get a hold of him to redo that because I can't log into it right now since I came home. So
Paul Heyman's a genius, anyways.
yes, very much so. Like he should. I think do you know if he's one of the head writers on Fox or?
I don't know. I thought he was, but I don't know for sure. So what do you think of CM Punk's return?
It's all right. Yeah, it's just. I think I told Rome this before. He's a creative. I think he's a creative genius between like his comic book stuff and his stuff on the mic and his wrestling, and with WWE giving him a sheet of paper every week and not letting him be his own creation. He got tired of that. Pardon?
It was damaging.
Yeah, he didn't like his creation being taken away from him. And now that he's got creative freedom with AEW, he's much more enjoying his freedom now.
Yep.
So, and the way Daniel Bryan's talking in some sort of the same gesture, it's the same way with him.
All right, boys. I don't know how long I'll last on. I'm plugging because the Wi-Fi is working off my phone, and I am in I'm in a black hole right now. I have about 25 students, along with my 2 kids, and my boss's 2 kids are in here. Everybody got cell phones on. It looks like an old school rock concert, and we're waiting for people to come out and do the encore.
Well, Biggie and I have been talking for about 20 minutes, so Mickey,
what a shock! It just happened out of nowhere, man. Yeah, just basically happened out of nowhere, and two students came running up to the door about 3 to 5 minutes after the occurrence, and were like, "Mr. Rumble, we just saw a huge explosion down at the end of the road." Evidently, one of the transformer poles must have blown up.
Wow.
That's
Incredible.
insane.
So I put a couple of interesting things up earlier today. One being the Roman Reigns post, which I found very interesting with his quotes. Because I'll be honest, the past few weeks, I really haven't been able to sit back and enjoy wrestling like usual. It's been very chaotic between my own personal life, moving and stuff like that into a new home and regular work. I think I caught NXT, and I wasn't happy with that. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about one thing. The huge topic is, man, Luna Vachon and the dark side of the ring brought in a whole new perspective and spotlight.
Do you want to talk with the Roman Reigns thing first, Rumble?
Sure, man. Sure. Let's touch on it.
I completely agree with Roman Reigns. Like, WWE, like, it appeals from the age of 3 to 95. And that's the way they write it. It's like, as I said in the analogy I said a couple weeks ago, it's like a book. It's like some books, the stories, there's a bunch in there, so it'll appeal to like a certain creation. Well, as in AEW, they're looking I think they're just aiming at specifically to the one story, which is professional wrestling.
Yeah. Well, yes. I think it's just like, I think, Mickey, you put it perfect today, bro, on your comment where it was like an ECW fad.
Yep.
And it was just
that's
crazy.
Exactly what I said. I said in some ways he's correct. AEW has that specific fan base like ECW did. It just does not appeal to everyone. While WWE does try to appeal to the world, they just seem to fall short a lot of the time.
Yeah, like appealing to kids, like the WWE, like their presentation appears more to the kids, like with all the colors and stuff like that. That's going to get the kids' attention, and getting the kids' attention is going to get them more involved into the professional wrestling.
Agreed. Like my son and daughter love WWE. You know what I mean? I didn't watch WWE, but if my son and daughter weren't running around the gym downstairs enjoying the I'm just going to take a look right now and see how many lights are floating around. What they have done basically is they have taken their cell phones and they have lined their cell phones around the basketball court, and they are playing volleyball down there, about 25 kids.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, but I think Roman Reigns like hit it on the nail.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was interesting. I had to put that up. And it was awesome. He believes he's the best in the business. Hands down, by far.
Yeah, he does.
We just had there was a documentary up here in Canada called Engraved on the Nation. It's all about Kenny Omega. And he pretty much said, like, but this is going back to AEW. And it is true. Like, he proved, though, you don't have to be a WWE star to prove that you made it in the business. And Kenny Omega is an attestament to that, I believe.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. To a certain extent, he's right. But when you mention wrestling to 8 out of 10 regular people, they're going to say WWE. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think to erase that type of stigma totally, You're talking 20 years down the road before you could literally say you're a star without going to the WWE. That's my honest opinion. Yes, he's a star. He's a star, Pelly, definitely. But he's not a mega star. You know, I think it's still the obtainable thing. He can't tell me growing up in Canada the way he did that he didn't grow up aspiring to be a WWE superstar. You know,
Every kid in Canada did.
that's right, and I believe he's the leader of the entitled generation.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
Just think about it, Pelly. These are guys that didn't want to go, and they were afraid that they were going to get put in developmental. What's wrong?
Everything's downstairs.
Okay. And they were all afraid to get put in developmental. And if you look at AJ Styles, he traveled basically the same road, except for the fact is he was a lifer in TNA until he went and made a legit, even more of a name for himself worldwide in Japan. And
well, so did Kenny Omega.
Styles, from what I understand, he was willing on his original contract signing to do time in NXT. That supposedly, and I don't know if this is true, this is just hearsay of what I heard, that when AJ signed, that first night he came out for the Royal Rumble, he was supposed to go to NXT. It was the pop he got that the powers that be said, whoa, do we really want to put AJ Styles in NXT when he got a main roster pop? So to the writers and the people and the important people, they were very surprised that he got that type of pop. The WWE wrestling fan knew who AJ Styles was, and if you think you're that great when it comes to being, say, Nick Jackson and Kenny Omega, why wouldn't you gamble upon if you were that good, seeing if you could get that type of pop?
Kenny Omega wouldn't have got the pop that AJ Styles got.
No, you're absolutely right, Pelly. Absolutely right. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
No, yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I mean,
but if you put Kenny Omega down in NXT and put him through some promo classes and teach him a WWE style wrestling.
I think Kenny Omega can I tell you something? The reason why I believe Kenny Omega is probably the top 5 most talented wrestlers of today, and it's not even a 5 thing. It's like these 5 guys could be the number 1 guy, like the Seth Rollins, the Kenny Omegas. Like Omega can work the WWE style. It's not that. I just believe that because he called his own shots for so long.
But if you groomed him the same way you groomed Finn Balor, Kenny Omega would be bigger than Finn Balor right now.
Oh, yeah. I think the battles that you could have had with some of these guys for that, if Vincent really took these guys on, I think he could have gotten some of the fans that basically now are watching AEW. Because these mainstream fans are the people that watch the New Japans and the things of that nature when it comes to wrestling. What do you think, Mickey?
Yeah, you're right. I think I really do. If he had gotten that, absolutely, he'd be getting all those viewership that AEW is getting right now.
I truly believe that. And it took balls on all of those guys, on the Omegas, on the Bucks, and Cody Rhodes to bank on saying, Vince, we thank you for the $1 million contracts, but Kenny Omega was offered $5 million for 3 years. And he was given creative control, 50-50 creative control with the backstage. So he would have been allowed to veto things. He wanted 100, he wanted 75 to 100% creative control. And the Bucks wanted to guarantee that they weren't going to NXT.
Yeah, and that's the same thing Mick, you're talking about. I told you about that earlier. It's a CM Punk gimmick. They want their creative control. They want to do their wrestling. And that's what keeps those guys happy. They want to do their type of wrestling.
Yes.
And that's what started AEW, is that they turned down the WWE way. And that's what started AEW altogether.
Well, yeah, and it's what brought you the Brody Lees, and what brought you, obviously the Andrades and the I'd even say the Christian Cages of this world, the Rusevs. AEW is a viable product right now, man. It really is.
Very much.
Yeah,
so.
we have hockey on right now, so they're not showing AEW or NXT, but AEW's on right now. Actually, they're showing
what you need to do, to get your
I got to contact you.
You have to send me a picture of that activation code again.
Yeah, I know you're busy tomorrow watching football, but I'll get a hold of you sometime.
Buddy, you don't even have to do that. Like I said, it takes 2 minutes. You go into the activation part of the screen. When you go there, it says activate. It takes 2 seconds, and you send me the active number. That's all.
I'll give you a shout in the next couple of days, Rumble.
Yep. So the next we're talking about was obviously last night, the battle of the AEW head-on-head with the WWE, and this all happened. I didn't watch the buy-in. I didn't watch anything last night other than my Red Sox take a 5-4 heartbreaking loss. The power just went out with 2 outs in the 8th inning. So I'm hoping by the time I get home, I'll know that my Red Sox have evened things up 1-1. So with that being said, there was another post. And basically the whole post came about when Vince McMahon decided to extend Friday Night SmackDown by 30 minutes to go head-to-head with Friday Night Rampage and compete for 30 minutes. So Tony Khan goes, I'm going to one-up, and I am going to win the Friday Night War. And I am going to do a buy-in live and free on YouTube during the 2 hours that SmackDown is on FS1. And as you see,
you're creating horrible numbers for each product.
Well, the numbers were good. And I believe the WWE fell 200,000 viewers shy of 1 million.
They were 800,000, yeah.
Yeah, I believe they would have did the 1 million last night had it not been for the moving of the product from Fox to FS1. And, of course, you're going to have a loudmouth millennial who is my stepson, my adopted son, Joey Kilmartin, has to put in that, over the years, SmackDown has done very well ratings on FS1. Can I tell you? Not everybody has FS1 unless they have a valued sports package in the United States of America for cable. So that I don't take as a valid point. And to the regular person, if they don't have FS1, I honestly believe last night, because of the American League Championship Series, that the WWE lost out on probably 200,000 viewers. One of the 200,000 viewers was myself. But then again, I DVR it every week. So does Nielsen count the DVRs? Or does Nielsen only get a live? Does Nielsen only get uh, a live reaction if you're on live with it at the same time? I'd love to know how this works. But I mean, I've always been one person that has said ratings mean nothing nowadays because of the fact that you can do so much by just watching next day nowadays.
I'm happy that we get to watch wrestling. There's a lot of all wrestling on all week, and it's just we should all be happy. We shouldn't care about going up against head to head, and we have DVR, as you just said, Rumble, and there shouldn't be bickering and stuff. I'm glad that we get to watch professional wrestling. That's all.
Yes, it's a great time to be in a professional wrestling fan.
But you didn't see Raw, did you?
No, I did not. Fill me in. I'd love to hear about it.
Well, I guess there was only like 3,000 people there.
What?
It was either Raw this week, because I was watching it, and they had all these. Usually had the crowd lit up so you can see the crowd, and you could hear the noise is piped in because they were like the crowd was piped in and stuff like that. But I thought I heard on online or something, Facebook can't believe everything, that they only sold like 3,000 tickets for Raw.
Wow.
So you know what they usually do? They only don't sell enough tickets. They'll put everybody in the other side on one side and stuff like that. And you couldn't see anything up in the upper balcony because they had all that shut off and
stuff like that.
Yeah. So they're not doing well. I think professional wrestling is good for the fan like us, but for like mainstream, like I'm not sure if it's. I think we need bigger stars. We have a couple stars like Roman Reigns and
it's Vince kills a lot of these guys, dude. Ricochet had the wrestling world by the balls 2 years ago.
And Ricochet,
you kill the superhero, but he was a legit superhero. To my son during that WrestleMania where he had that cool looking full length bodysuit and came out to that, they made a figure to that. I had to buy that figure for my son. They killed Ricochet.
They need the Attitude Era back where they had more than one guy that was larger than the product. Yeah. WWE needs like 3 or 4 guys that people want to watch every week, like an Undertaker, a Rock, a Stone Cold, the beginnings of you know what I mean? They need names that people want to watch.
I believe they need to be a little bit more like AEW, but with a story. I think that you should want to come each week and not know realistically who you're going to see, but everybody that you do see gives you an exciting match, tells you a great story, and keeps you coming back for more. So I'm going to disagree with you that they just need to make one star.
I'm not saying they need to, but they need to.
But if you hold up, if you listen, if you just rewind yourself a little bit and listen to what you said, that the WWE needs basically a core value of stars, which, yes, totally agree with that. But to the certain aspect, you know why UFC is so, why UFC every week has incredible numbers is because each week their cards are just that damn good and exciting for fight fans everywhere. And that's why I think AEW appeals to the strong, the internet wrestling fan, to the extreme wrestling fan, is because that's what AEW is giving you. They're more like UFC. there may not be a huge storyline, but they're concentrating on the fight aspect and giving you an incredible match to keep you coming back.
Yeah, but with UFC also, before the fighters fight, they tell you the story behind it.
What is that now?
With UFC, before they fight, they always tell you the story before the fight.
Yes. But there's always good fights. You know what I mean?
I got it on right now.
That's what I'd like to see. Like 1 week, Sami Zayn taking Kevin Owens on. The next week, Kevin Owens taking Ricochet on. And like, therefore, like Matt Riddle against AJ Styles. AJ Styles against the skinny street profit guy there. You know, I think because he's got the talent. Not Angelo Dawkins. I feel bad for him, but Angelo Dawkins reminds me of a Dollar Tree version of D'Lo Brown. Dollar Tree D'Lo.
So, hey, James, real quick, just go back on something that you asked about earlier. With the Nielsen ratings, most networks use Nielsen Live Plus to track ratings. Live Plus looks at who watch shows on their DVRs within different time frames and track 3 major categories: Live Plus same day, Live Plus 3, and Live Plus 7. So they do track it and they do count it in there, but not necessarily at that exact moment that it happens.
So then I could be watching that tomorrow before my NFL games, and then all of a sudden the Nielsen rating could quite possibly go up, is what you mean?
According to what that says, that's how I would understand it, yes.
Interesting. So we get to the main subject. And you know what this makes this show even better is that when people that you know had one-on-one interviews with the subject at hand. So, without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to Mr. Mickey Biggs himself, because he, on his radio show, he'll explain he had Miss Luna Vachon. So from here, I give it to you, Mr. Mickey Biggs.
Yeah, she's a unique person. I've had her on. Her and Gangrel both. They 4 or 5 times they were on my show, and I remember the very last time that she was on. I called and there was no answer. I called back a little while later. Finally, she answered. She's like, "I'm sorry." She's like, "I'm trying to get the vampire out of the coffin." She's like, just give me a couple minutes. And your lights came back on.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. All right. Yeah, you should have heard them all down there. Yeah. All right.
So she was like, "I'm trying to get the vampire out of the coffin." And you could hear them. They were, going at each other a little bit over there when they were in Florida. But she's a great person, and I miss her. I miss her a lot.
We're sorry to interrupt. Were you on that tour with us when Gangrel was in Rumble?
When Dave Heath was with you guys? No. But I've been on tour with Dave. I know Dave very well.
Yeah, because when he was on tour, I can't remember if they were separate at that time or not, but he talked about her a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a great story. I told it last night on the baseball edition. So I'm texting my boss right now to let him know that the lights came back on. Because his kids are over here, and he put fuck the kids. I want my power.
Hey Jay, do you remember that show you were all on in Connecticut with Dave? And
Yes.
I can't remember his name, but he looked like that young William Regal. Remember that?
Yes.
So we're all getting in the ring, and it's I can't remember what the situation was at this point, but we all were supposed to go in and go on Dave.
Yes.
And we jump into the ring, and Jason's looking at me. He's like, "Don't touch me! Don't touch me!" I'm like, "Don't worry." Yeah. So this guy looked like a young William Regal, except he used to wear a kilt. And ever since that time, Dave and I have been really good friends.
So we were on Sonny Roselli had him on a tour up here, and we ended up at a gentleman's club after a show, and Dave had a few too many to drink. And at the time, I drove this blue Kia Sportage 4x4. It was like a little mini when SUVs first started to get mini. And Dave was so drunk, he seen me drive this thing all night. And we're pulling out of the lot, and all of a sudden he hops out of Sonny's car and does like the policeman slide over the hood from the passenger side. Jumps on the hood of my car and starts beating the hell out of the car, going, "No, Luna! You can't leave me!" And he's beating the heck out of this car. So finally, Sonny gets out, pulls him off the hood of the car. He's like, "That ain't Luna. That's Rumble." "What's Rumble doing with my wife?" So, needless to say, the next morning, we all wake up. I got my hood looks like a golf ball with all divots in it. Gangrel's like, "Bro, what happened to your car?" Like, "Buddy, you really don't remember?" It's like, "No." I go, "Well, evidently, you thought I was Luna last night. You hopped on the hood and started to beat that shit out of my car." He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. She does drive one like this." I was like, and then when Sonny said, "No, that's Rumble," you accused me of being with your wife. He's like, "I'm so sorry."
Oh, Dave's a character. He really is.
Yes. He was really messed up for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And I think him being out on the West Coast and being with Rikishi and getting the school together, and then now him being back in Florida, getting his life in check, I think has been a great thing for him. So, yeah, I love me some Dave Heath. Dave is a great guy.
Yep.
The Gangrel Wrestling Asylum, great wrestling school. Yeah, I don't have any bad things to say about Dave. Dave's a good guy. It was awesome. I got a honor and privilege to hang out with them. He beat the shit out of my car, so what better? So
No,
James Forbes is watching, and he needs to come on because he wanted to talk about this subject, and it would be awesome since there's a person that got to interview Luna Vachon. I thought he would enjoy this. So,
from what I understand, Dave actually ended up adopting Luna's son.
Really?
That's what I was told.
Very interesting. That's all. I never even knew Luna had a son. I knew nothing about that. Another unique thing was finding out that she had gotten into the business so early. And it's funny that at 20 years old, when she was outside the ring doing that interview woman skit, that crap, she already looked like she was in her 40s the way they dressed her.
Yep.
It's so weird how the style of clothing and just the styles in general can make people look so old, even though they're so young. So
my second wife, when her and I got married, we did a Gothic style wedding. You know, of course, Dark Angel. Why not do a Gothic style wedding?
yeah.
And we invited Luna and Gangrel, and unfortunately they were booked for something else already. Luna called me up. She's like, "Oh, sweetheart," she's like, "I wish we could." She goes, "But unfortunately we're already booked." She goes, "And we can't get out of it." I was like, "No, I understand. I get that."
That's awesome. So you remember the outpatient, right? OP?
We were just talking about the outpatient.
Did you turn that annoying siren sound off? Thank you. Who? Who's over there?
No, the alarm.
Oh, the alarm's over there. Yeah, we were without power for about a half hour. The three girls came running over here, scared to death that they saw the explosion happen on top of the telephone pole. Have a good night, Cliff. That was the dubious Washington Academy janitor, or actually head maintenance person. Casey heard me as he was walking out of my gym. So we're all tied up. I'm a happy Boston Red Sox fan. 9-5, the final. So I'm a happy camper. Go Red Sox, baby. Awesome, DA.
My shopping bag.
There you go.
Yeah, we were just talking about outpatient a few minutes ago before you came back on.
Did you follow him on Facebook at all?
You know what? I think
Jeremy Cotter.
I think so, but I'm not 100% positive.
He is now into paranormal experiences, and evidently he is a well-respected person in these ghost findings.
Nice.
That he was one of the main speakers in Portland, Maine 2 weeks ago, and he did his own seminar where he was the lead speaker of the paranormal experience. And Jeremy Cotter, if you got him on Facebook, anybody out there that would like to go to his Facebook, you can see he has a post about it, and from there's a link that goes to his first recorded paranormal experience, his first lecture. That's exactly what it was, a lecture on it. And I'm thinking that he is going to be actually coming up where I live, because we have one of the most famous roads with paranormal experiences right up here in Cherryfield, Maine. And my daughter will attest to it right here. My daughter, if we go down that road, she literally wants to jump out of the car, because the lady supposedly at night, she waved to Uncle Pelly. She supposedly, if you don't pick the ghost up, she gets you into a car accident. If you were to Google Haunted Road, Cherryfield, Maine, it would come up.
It's called Blackwoods.
Blackwoods. There's a ghost of Blackwoods Road.
Yep, I'm familiar with it.
I had to go down
So,
it 5 times in my life.
When I talked to Jeremy a year ago, I've come to find out it's such a small world. Lady goes, I hear you're a former professional wrestler. I go, yes, I am. She goes, I know this is just probably throwing it out there because there's millions of you. She goes, but my nephew's a professional wrestler. He was trained by Killer Kowalski. I go, what? I was trained by Killer Kowalski. She goes, oh, wait a second now. Wow, this world is really small. She's like, do you know a wrestler named The Outpatient? And when I tell you, I almost hit the floor. I was like, know him? One of my best friends. So with that being said, a year ago, I get in touch with him and I go, bro, you'll never you never guess who I ran into. And he's like, who? I go, I ran into your mother's sister. She works with me. He's like, no. Oh, I'm back. So we got to talk, and I tell him where I'm from, and I go, yeah. And he goes, well, what's the name of it? And I told him the whole 9 yards on what's the name and the whole thing. And he goes, bro, he goes, I know it. I want to come up there and investigate it, actually. So he's supposed to be coming up my way to investigate this paranormal experience.
I got to tell him about this place in Long Island that it's a house that's in Long Island, and every time you go there, it doesn't matter how many people you got in the car. You pull up in front. Now the windows are all blocked out. You can't see into the place. You don't know if they can see out. But it doesn't matter what time of day you go there. It does not matter how many people you have in your car. You pull up, you stop, you wait a couple minutes, and then they'll start putting candles in the window, one for every person in the car.
Wow.
That's freaky.
Yeah, he'd see that. So I think next week what we're going to build on, fellas, is I'm very interested on next week's subject with this I believe it was FMW, which is the next Dark Side of the Ring. Very interested look at this extreme wrestling league that evidently somebody got their finger cut off because of doing something wrong, and their finger was cut off with dog nail trimmers.
So if I get a hold, I'll talk to you after this, Rumble. Yeah.
I'll listen, buddy, you'll get all hooked up. You'll be able to see what you need to see so you can be in on the convo.
What is this? It's like mafia stuff going on?
Yeah, like what you would see in Japan with the Yakuza.
Wow.
And I think that the Crown Jewel ought to be interesting. I'd love to talk about some of the matches out of that. But most importantly, this Dark Side of the Ring is going to be a good one. And the one after that is about the steroid scandal. So there's some good subjects coming up with the Dark Side of the Ring. And I'm hoping for some free agent news. I think in the next 10 days is when we're going to know where Bray Wyatt ends up ultimately, because it becomes the end of the 90 days. So I think the wrestling news itself, as far as hot stove, I call it, I think the hot stove will start heating up because we've really had a lull right now where it's just been concentrated upon watching the programs.
I'd like to see where Kevin Owens is going. Let's talk some Kevin Owens too.
I don't understand what the big deal about Kevin Owens is right now when he is not. His contract's not set to come up until January.
Oh, I thought it was earlier than that. I'm sorry. I thought it was earlier.
I'm under the impression I was told it was late December. And quite possibly they were looking to give a handshake extension up until the Royal Rumble. Why? Do you really believe, knowing how much Kevin Steen grew up idolizing being a WWE superhero, getting everything he's wanted in life, do you believe?
I just like to talk about it. I think there's a little bit of heat on the internet right now, just talking about it. Whether he's going to stay, whether he's going to go. If I was Kevin Owens, I'm like you, Rumble. I would stay because he's getting paid well. Maybe he's not getting the booking he wants, but that could change in a month or two. You never know. I thought it'd be a great topic of conversation. That's all.
All right. Yeah, I don't mind ending with a little bit of the discussion on the whereabouts on what Kevin Owens could or could not do. I look at it this way too, Belly. The more and more people that go over to AEW, okay, knowing that what makes them so special. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, I'm hearing that quite possibly Andrade is having huge second thoughts about going over to AEW.
Of course, because they're bringing in these other guys and they're taking the TV time away from him.
So say they bring Kevin Owens in.
Then
He gets a month worth of glory. Then all of a sudden the new toy shines up and shows up.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? What does that say for him? When right now he's on the program week in and week out, whether or not it's a highlighted spot, an interview spot. But if you look at SmackDown and you watch SmackDown, I'm going to say 9 out of 10 shows Kevin Owens is on those shows.
And
So
maybe they're working the angle for him being like a little disgruntled and stuff, and maybe they're working us all. Maybe they're working it.
Well, I really haven't seen him disgruntled.
I don't know. Maybe that's what I'm reading on Facebook and stuff.
Yeah, man. I hear you. And I said that a close friend, not even a close friend, the guy Gary Godchuk that I called a fat bozo because I didn't notice who he was. He's a carpenter who worked with my father, and he's legitimately helping do the carpentry work in Kevin Owens' home. And like I said to Forbes, if I had a carpenter at my house and the carpenter told me he had a friend that basically, I'm sorry, but I call it the way I see it. He's an overly excited 50-year-old man and jolly about professional wrestling. Me, Jason Rumble, I'm going to be like, you want to fuck with your buddy? You know what I mean? Have some fun with them. But then again, I'm not telling my carpenter what my itinerary is for my free agency either.
Right.
Like, I don't care. Unless you're gonna do all the work for free and the materials.
I know according to Talk Sport, they were talking about this whole thing with Kevin Owens, and they were saying how WWE firmly believes that Owen is going to leave at the end of his contract in January and go to AEW.
Oh, wow. So I love it. Beautiful.
So we'll see what happens with that. It could be a great thing.
So let me get this correct. The WWE themselves firmly believe Owens is out the door.
According to Talk Sport, yes. Now,
excuse me, fellas.
That could be a good thing for Owen, but like we just got done talking about, he could end up getting buried in AEW when the next new shiny toy comes into play.
That's what I'm saying. They got a bunch of shiny toys.
It's happening right now. It's happening right now.
Like Christian. Do you think Christian likes being in a group with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus when realistically they probably told him he was going to be main eventing with Kenny Omega? Adam Cole, he don't need to have a belt. He just came back in and they put him right on top with the top guys. You seen that thing that I posted? That was one of the most watched promo gimmicks on YouTube. That whole backstage thing that they did over. That replay of that was watched by millions. So I don't think that being with Vince McMahon is that bad when push comes to shove.
You know, it's funny. I remember years ago, I was when I was in South Carolina, I was at a show down there. And one of the younger talents had come up to me, and we were talking about the fact that he was offered a developmental deal, but he wasn't sure if he wanted to take it because, you know, they weren't offering a lot of money. And I mean, but I'm like, dude, it's WWE.
Yeah.
Go there, pay your dues, do what you got to do, and that money will come if you're any good.
Yes.
And obviously, you must be pretty good if they're offering you some type of developmental deal.
There's a talent that could probably be about 12 years deep right now into a WWE career. And basically, he did that. And his name is Hurricane John Walters. Walters had been offered 2 to 3 different times of him having a WWE developmental deal. And he works on the stock market back then. So even though he had the dream of being a WWE hero, when they said to him, you get a check for $500 and then taxes, he said, I make $500 in a day right with what I do on the stock exchange. How could I theoretically and realistically say to myself that I'm going to give the job up to come and live with money? I was making better money in high school. So he was going to have to readjust his life on 3 different occasions. Hurricane John Walters is the closest thing you can get to what Chris Benoit was without being psychotic.
That's pretty cool.
And Walters has been a classic catch as catch can style wrestler for Ring of Honor. He's been the pure champion before. Walters is an incredible talent that could have been something huge in the WWE, but they stayed on the indies. He worked Ring of Honor. He's been everywhere. And he's one of the ones that couldn't see himself living on a $500 paycheck a week with and not being the net at the end of the week. So I can see some people not giving into the deal itself, but nowadays that $500, once you're on the NXT roster and they have touring shows, you're getting a better stretch of pay.
Yep, absolutely. So Jay, let me ask you a question. When we were doing NWA New England,
yep,
was there anybody there that you thought should be elevated to like a AEW, TNA, Ring of Honor?
I think that if we had the right network, the way I was writing television, I think the product that we were putting out was just as competitive and storyline telling was just as good as any of those.
I agree.
Especially when we were in Pat Doyle's studio.
I agree.
In Melrose, Massachusetts. If we were doing those now, brother, we'd be on a streaming network. We'd be streaming a show live once a month. Pat would have been eating this whole stream thing up.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And that little TV studio would have been one of the most famous TV studios in streaming land.
Absolutely.
And I guarantee that.
Actually, it's funny you said that. I was just talking, you'll remember JC North.
Yep.
I was just talking to him the other day, and he asked me, he's like, whatever happened to that studio? I was like, what? I don't know, man. I was like, man, I have no idea.
Can you tell JC to hit me up on Facebook? I would love to have him. I would love to I want to get some interviews lined up. So I would like to, yourself, some of the older guys, some of the old school guys that I had 20 years ago back in NWA New England, like a "Where Are You Now" type of thing. You know what I mean? Love
Absolutely.
to have JC in. His story's great. How he was in the armed services, trained to be a wrestler. And yeah, man, I would love one of the most talented wrestlers I've had come through my doors.
Yeah, JC was incredible.
Yep, he's a guy I could see. I would call AEW Doc, and I would be like, "Here's an athletic guy." Like us collectively as the brotherhood with the personas, individualized. I think would have been a great television crew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
especially on like AEW Dark and all that.
Yep, exactly. No reason why we couldn't have been like the Dark Order. You could have been like Evil Uno.
Did you talk to Fuller at all?
You know, I haven't talked to Rick in a long time. Long time. But
last time I talked to him was, oh my goodness, probably like 4 or 5 years ago. I messaged him on Facebook.
you know, I think I'm gonna have to do that. I think I'm gonna have to get in touch with Big Rick and do a where are, I think that's my next project now is a where are they now? That's my next project. Where are they now?
The Brotherhood reunites.
Yes. That would be awesome. So, all right, fellas. So I'm thinking that we're pretty good on time. We've covered a lot of bases in the hour and 10 minutes that we've been on. I think next week, Crown Jewel is a huge thing that we need to cover, and we definitely the dark side of the ring. Let's really cover that next week. Let's after it's on. Let's get a little inside information on the promotion too, and let's check and let's do the ratings of the week. Let's see who's winning these ratings wars. Even though it's not much, just for the simplistic fan out there that loves to hear the numbers, we'll give you the numbers. So. All right, fellas. I want to thank everybody out there who's watching live on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. For Mickey Biggs, the Dark Angel himself. For AJP Adam Jack Pelly, better well known as Sidewalk Sam, I am the Boston bad boy Jason Rumble. You know, we used to have a saying around here. We ain't having fun till you're going to dial up 911. But now that I'm kind of 50, I think as long as 911 isn't called, it's a lot more funner. Because let's just face it, I ain't got the money to bail my ass out of jail. So to everybody out there, we'll see you next Saturday night. We appreciate the viewership. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.